Yeah, it's basically the tax button.
What?
All right, we're going to order this call meeting. Borough Council, Mr. Wood, we did some pledge for you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of the nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Please join me in a moment of silence for unfortunately the mass shooting this time in Monterey Park, California, for individuals celebrating Lunar New Year. Hopeful that in 2023 I won't have to have as many silent prayers having the mass shooting. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Here.
Mr. McLean.
Here.
Ms. Morales. Here. Mr. Kerna. Mr. Scarrazza.
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
Have quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. We have a packed room tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming here. It's been a few years, and I think as a result of COVID, since we've been able to ceremonially swear in new officers and changes in rank and promotions within the department. So we decided we're going to do every single one of them in one night. So all kidding aside, our department's changed significantly in the last few years. We want to recognize that. So we are going to do a series of swearing-ins this evening. I know we have a bunch of family in the audience. I'm going to come down here. And I believe we're lined up here almost, or if in order. I've done everything I can to try and stay in order here. So the first individual who's sworn in this evening is Officer Angela Balestimon. Coming down here, Angela. Okay, we have the Bible here. You have somebody that you'd like to hold the Bible for your swearing in? Over here. Left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Angela Balestimon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all the duties
of Borough Merchville Police Officer
of Borough Merchant Police Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. Hinman, you're next. You have somebody, yeah. Come on up. How are you? Good. All right. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Matthew Hinman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of Borough of Merchville Police Officer
of Borough Merchant Police Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. Mr. Jones. That's what I have. Give it to somebody. All right, somebody's got to hold it for you. All right. Left hand, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Anthony Jones,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all the duties
of Borough of Merchville Police Officer
of Borough Merchant Police Officer
to the best of my ability.
best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. What's that list say? I was wrong. I had the right word. I'm just saying. All right. You ready to repeat after me? I just Clark. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully. Impartially and justly. Perform all of the duties. Of Borough of Merchville Police Officer. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. All right, Corporal. Ready to do that. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. All right, this is the first time we've had a corporal since I've been here. This is a long time. So, I state your name.
I also do
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all the duties
of Borough of Merchville Corporal
of Borough Merchant Corporal
to the best of my ability.
that's my ability.
So help me God.
Help me.
Congratulations. Soon to be Sergeant Tapper. I state your name.
Keith Tapper,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
partially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of Borough of Merchantville Sergeant
for our commercial sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Brian Calloway,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties of
of Borough of Merchantville Lieutenant
Borough Commercial Lieutenant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
So help me God.
ability. I'll be God.
Congratulations. Last but not least. All right, left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I state your name. I, Thomas Allen. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully. Impartially and justly. Perform all the duties. Of Borough of Merchantville Lieutenant. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. So help me God. Thank you, everybody, who's here for the swearing in. Again, this is part of reorganization of the department, long overdue. It's great to be able to do this stuff. So you do not have to stick around for the rest of the borough meeting. If you don't like, feel free to go outside, get pictures, do whatever you'd like to do. We'll just wait a couple minutes as you guys do that. All right. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will. Everybody here, I see whatever they're here for. Well. All right. So, thank you, everybody. Lulia, I always say your name?
You can call me. You can call me Julie.
Julie? Okay. So Julie, we're gonna wait for Sean,
Yeah.
Mr. Walden. I don't know what you call him. I think he's gonna be here shortly, so you were gonna be next. I'm sorry. Because he's not
That's all right, he let me know.
Okay, all right. Perfect. So we're just gonna move on. When he gets here, whatever we're doing, we'll stop. We'll do your presentation. All right. No problem. Okay, next order of business is the public portion of the meeting. Anybody from the public who wishes to come forward, speak on the topic, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I have a question real quick. Is there a second public portion or is this the only time?
Just now.
Dr. Burnham, 3 East Cedar Avenue. I am a small business owner in town. I own TheraSport, a club for physical therapy. I just wanted to comment on some of the new business items. We're eager to hear about the small business micro grant program rollout, as well as the business commercial business opportunity night. And I also understand that the ordinance amending the zoning regarding small businesses and kind of protecting the uniqueness of our town and the businesses that we have currently in our town and the future businesses of our town. And I think that's something that I can speak on to say that that's something that I would want to see in town. And just allowing our small businesses to be as vital, give us a good opportunity to partner with the neighborhood as possible. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian Ryan, Juanita Chestnut, I also run a small business owner in town, and I'm excited for my program and the open house or open evening, sorry. I also wanted to voice my support for the new ordinance. I do like the idea of keeping small businesses in our town and not huge overly large. That's all.
Carolyn Musa, Keith Secondhand, on 05 South Century Street. Just wanted to second and third what everyone already said, support of the new ordinance being put out here and working with them to see them get. Thank you.
Ricky, yeah.
All right. Any other members of the public wishing to speak this evening? All right, we'll close the public portion of the meeting and we will move back. We good? All right, we have a presentation and approval Scout projects. Here we go. We'll pass this around.
So good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Yuri Yazuba. I go by Julie Brickford. I live in Hannibal, my address is 400 North Highland Avenue, 41. And I live in Richmond until September of this year. During my time here, I was in Scout, I'm still in, and I was also in the tennis program at the community center tennis courts. So in Scout right now, I am working towards my Eagle Scout rank, but in order to do so, I need to complete a project that will benefit the community. So I'm here tonight to propose to build benches and a table for the community center tennis courts. For every lesson, the net will bring her own tennis chairs and people just so we could be comfortable. So I knew that when it would be time for my project, I wanted to do something to help her out. And after discussing with her, suggested that I provided the courts with some benches and the people. Mr. Waldron, my scout master, and I chose simple and durable designs that won't take much space. We're planning to build 4 benches measuring 51 inches in length and 24.5 inches in width. And they'll be made using pressure treated wood. The benches will be public for tennis lessons, as well as anyone else who decides to go play tennis in the free time. The table also will measure 4 feet in length and 2 feet in width, and will also be made using pressure treated wood. For this project, it's also raising the money to purchase the materials. And after placing everything out, the total for our materials came out to around $400. And I plan on raising this money by sending out emails to the people involved enrolled in the program. Mr. Knight can really check my email, so I can send out a letter, which I also have for you over here. So if I can get information material, that'd be perfect, and I can also get from there. So yeah, for me, I just need approval for my project so that I can put this to the scouting council, get approval before everything work. That maybe this around February, March. Can I just name these out?
Sure, absolutely. Council, any questions? Concerns, thoughts? There is no way to say.
Yeah, that's great.
Sounds and seems like a good project. Here you go. And the only concerns that we would have would be securing that, making sure that the benches and the chairs that you're creating at the table don't grow legs and fall away. Or aren't otherwise vandalized, and some of that stuff I think we can work with you on. We have experience with that in our DPW. And I know, Mr. Waldron has plenty of experience in the borough with those types of things. So
I'm still in the same house yet.
not yet. So as long as we make it the size of the Santa house. So council, no questions. I think it's a great project. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed project.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Brazil.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes. Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your commitment to our community. It's fantastic. Okay, council will move into new business. And as some of our small business owners had come up earlier in public session to talk about some of the things that are being proposed here this evening, that we're packaging as the original Small Business Preservation and Investment Acts. And this is something. Again, it's threefold, right? There's three things on the agenda. You can see there's a change in zoning that we're putting forth. And there's an ordinance later on this evening. There's the micro grant program, and then there's finally the open house concept that actually Janine Halvani, who was here at a meeting, had brought up, and which we lifted from her. And thankfully, that was a great idea, and we're going to move forward with that. But I just want to kind of frame what's going on here. And this is not something that we have been working towards for a long time. But I will also say this ordinance was drafted with support and feedback and information from the business community. So this wasn't something that was done outside of their purview. And there is still opportunity, and this will be, assuming it is passed, introduced this evening, it will be referred, and there's a resolution referring it to the land use board for review and comment, and then it will come back for a second reading here, at which time there will be a public hearing on it. But I just want to frame this, and I've said this a lot. Small businesses in our community are the backbone of our community. I'm sitting here, and of the small business owners that are either in the crowd and didn't speak or that did speak this evening, everybody but one is a resident in our town, not just a business owner, a resident. Live in the town, they support the town. And it's not just that you're the backbone of our community. We're literally named for merchants. It was a group of merchants who came here and created this community, small merchants. And I think that throughout our efforts here to support the business community, to support the small businesses in our community through our master plans, our master plan reexaminations, our redevelopment plans, what have you, we've always had an eye to that. There's a couple things I want to point out this evening. One, in the original master plan, it was critical, and that was 2007, that the borough ensures that it retains its identity and sense of place. I think it's critical to talk about the mission statement that was set forth in 2007 at that examination, when it was stated, Merchantville continues to have a special sense of place. And I think that's consistent to this day. We're 2023, 16 years later. It has a charming, lively downtown, attractive shops, restaurants on the first floors, residences, some small businesses above. I think that character of our community remains the same. in the master plan reexamination in 2020, we said that changes to our zoning will encourage economically and socially vibrant downtown, promoting a healthy mix of businesses and storefronts. Again, small business was the core of the approach for the revitalization of the downtown businesses, not just through these master plans, but also, and Mr. Waldron has walked out, his first job here was as the Main Street coordinator in the mid-90s in the first revitalization of our downtown. So everything that we've done in this borough over time has been to support and promote small businesses and an appropriate mix of those businesses. That sense of place during the last 50 years, unfortunately, as times has been lost. We've made a lot of efforts, but we're not perfect. And our zoning hasn't necessarily grown with the times. And I will say the changes in the zoning that is being introduced tonight has a definition of a new definition of a type of business and how we're defining it. It creates a conditional use for those types of businesses to ensure that the types of business and the type of things that we want to promote, from it's fresh groceries or it's a different type of businesses, are going to be the types of things that when somebody comes in and they're looking at the zoning code, they can very easily understand. We're supporting small businesses, we're supporting the types of businesses that we think and we know our residents want, and those in the larger community. I think it's important also to note, and this is not, pharmacies are accepted out of this ordinance, and so this isn't an attack on Rite Aid or CVS, but those are, I think, those are examples of formula retail businesses, which are the type of businesses that I think over the years have been able to undercut the small businesses in our community, starting with small pharmacy that was here at the same time as Rite Aid and CVS that no longer exists and couldn't compete with those larger corporations. And then I think the other example, the more recent example for all of us sitting in this room is the loss of McFarland's, and before that, Philadelphia Fruit Market. Though that had been a grocer for decades in our community. My family was always very close with Bob Hanna. And I've heard this story, and I don't know if it's true, but when Rite Aid began selling milk, Bob Hanna went over there and challenged them on their right to do that because they were going to ruin his business. And over time they did. And it's not just them, but those businesses, those larger corporate entities that are coming in here through this formula retail business are the types of businesses that will be able to undercut our small businesses. And it's not that we don't think we need pharmacies, because we absolutely do, and we want a pharmacy. And it's not that we don't think that a lot of what a CVS or a Rite Aid provided to us in terms of everyday general store stuff are not important things for our community. But for us right now, we think it's important, and I think the business community has helped us to realize this, and we have focused ourselves on this. It's finding the right mix and the right size and the right type of businesses for our community. And so we think it's important at this point to change our zoning. We sort of have a fresh slate, having lost those two big businesses out of our community, to really kind of, hone our zoning a little bit, put ourselves in a position where we can attract the right types of businesses. So, I think from our perspective, and I don't want to speak for council on this, but I know I've worked with council on this, I've worked with the business community to try and put this and write this in a way that makes sense. And that will attract, again, the right types of businesses that are consistent with the sense of place that Merchantville believes it is and knows it is. Not just the people sitting up here, but the community at large. So I want to thank everybody for their work on this. And I'm looking forward to council's thoughts on this and looking forward to the introduction this evening. As I mentioned, it's a three-pronged approach. The second prong of the three-pronged approach is the investment part. The investment here, as I touched on in an earlier meetings, are the micro grants that we're going to be utilizing the trust fund dollars that we have from the money we raised during the gala. We're gonna, well, $10,000 of that to create $500 and $1,000 micro grants to businesses in our community. The specific criteria is going to be released by mid-February, and the application process will be defined at that point. The types of improvements that those micro grants can be used for will be defined at that point. So I encourage the business community to be on the lookout for those. But the intent behind these micro grants are to enhance your businesses, whether it be physically and or from an operational standpoint, being able to invest in equipment for the business, point of sale stuff, whatever it is, technologies. But that will be rolled out, I think, in the next probably 2-3 weeks in February. That will be out. We'll make sure that we do a big posting on social media and we make sure that everybody's aware of it. We are going to limit that again in year one to $10,000. So the grants will be limited, but it's open to, you'll see the criteria for the businesses that it's open to. It's going to be geared towards small businesses that are in our town. There is going to be a support requirement. I'm looking at people who are already part of that support mechanism and involvement in the borough. But we're hopeful to gain more by getting them, involved in this micro grant. The third thing is the Merchantville Business Opportunity Night, Day, whatever. That's still in development. We're hoping to have it at some point in either late February or early March. We'd like to have it in, either entering spring or in spring, so that we can hope that it's a nice day and bring a lot of foot traffic to the town. But it's going to take some time to get in touch with and manage the schedules of the separate landlords that are in the borough who own these spaces in our downtown district or in our West Maple neighborhood district, who are either vacant or are becoming vacant storefronts. We want to provide an opportunity where we're going to reach out to business leaders, entrepreneurs, what have you, in the larger Camden County, South Jersey community, and even over into Philadelphia, to identify opportunities for investment here in the borough from the private side. Stuff that we can't dictate, but we want to provide awareness and we want to provide opportunity. So that's the goal there. We are working with the business community on trying to put this together so it would be a coordinated event. But again, that's still in development. We're early stages on that. We're hopeful to have it in late February or March, but depending upon the schedules, certain landlords may go a little bit later into March. But that right now is, that's the three-pronged approach that we have, and that is not the end of it in terms of supporting small businesses. We're always open to ideas, and I know that business community has a group, small business, business and professional association that is very active. We're happy to hear from you about changes that we can make. We can't promise that every change you suggest will be made, but we can do what we can to try and come to a compromise position on what works for you and what works for us as the government. Because we think, again, supporting you as the backbone of our community is critical to continuing this I guess this dream we call Merchantville, right? This thing that we call Merchantville, which I think we're all invested in tremendously. So I've done enough talking. Council, I'll open up to you on new business. Any questions, concerns, thoughts on any of the items? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on now. Okay. The next item is item B, use the facility for the Mark Golf Center. That's later. Yeah. Use the facility for Mark Golf Center. We have the group that ran the Mark Golf Center last year. The primary person in charge being Janine Al-Nami, who stole that idea. And they have, I think they did a fabulous job last year. I'm looking forward to the new ideas and what they're planning for this coming year. Would anyone like to move that? Second. Mr. Turner with the first, I'll give the second to Ms. Morales. Roll call.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McGlynn.
Yes.
Ms. Morale.
Yes.
Mr. Curnow.
Yes.
Mr.
Braga,
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, ordinances for first reading to be approved during the council meeting. And just, you know, the council on here, I have February 7th, 2023 as another meeting date. That would be a special meeting date. Some of these are time sensitive, particularly the 2302. So I wanted to get that meeting done. Sort of single or, you know, sole agenda items. So I'll start with ordinance 2301, amending chapter 94 zoning EV parking. Do I have a motion?
So.
Second. Mr. Furman with the first, second, Mr. Woods, any discussion on the introduction? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Fitzgerald. Mr. McGlue.
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Braga.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
It just occurred to me, I skipped over the ordinance. Well, we'll discuss old business here. Ordinance 2302, amending the lease agreement with FNB Hospitality, Council Paul, that we had adopted an ordinance previously that set the capacity, a limit of $150,000 in improvements for the roof. I've been advised by the developer that the total number came in at about 180, so I'm asking council to amend this to be up to $200,000, just in case there's any, you know, change orders or anything that has to be done, so that we wouldn't have to come back at that point. But most of the work has been done. This is kind of just sort of tying that up for legal purposes to make sure that we approved it, that they have something that says over that.
Second.
First, Mr. Kerner, second, Mr. Woods, any discussion on the introduction? All right, hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McGlue.
Yes.
Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Braga.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Finally, ordinance 2303, amending chapter 94 permitted and conditional uses in the B1 and B2 business districts. This is what I was discussing earlier with regard to the changes that are being proposed. Do I have a motion?
So.
Motion, Mr. Fitzgerald, second, Mr. Morales. Any discussion on the motion?
Just wanted to point out that Bob, you're I think this is actually a very good resolution. I'm actually very excited to see this kind of move forward. The idea of formulary businesses, a number of the large big box retailers have destroyed small businesses across the United States. Because you know, they're not able to compete. So to see that we're trying to protect our small business here, kind of think it's actually very appropriate this time. Thank you for that.
Thank you for your involvement. Anything else? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McGlue.
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Braga.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council, there are 3 items that are currently to be read by consent agenda. Are we okay moving those as consent?
Yes, you are. Move on.
Okay, thank you. Let me just read them into the record. Resolution 2326, planning board referral EV parking. Resolution 2327, appointment of police officer to rank of corporal, and resolution 2328, planning board referral amending chapter. First, Mr. Clement. Second, Mr. Woods. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Mr. McGlue.
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Braga.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Okay, I have your discussion items. We touched on this at the regular meeting. This has to do with the ordinance that we had introduced, which is sort of sitting in limbo. This one we have to reintroduce it. Amending chapter 53 parks regulation. This, you'll recall, council had to do with the use of facilities and changing the process in certain ways so equitable, so that we better define who could and could not be using use facility, what we were trying to restrict. I don't know if council's ready to discuss this evening, or if anybody has any specific thoughts. But I would like to, I don't want to run ourselves into a situation again, where we are without better definition as we move towards the spring months here. You know, I just don't want to be in a circumstance where we keep people in a position where they're unsure. So I would ask if council doesn't want to talk about it tonight, that maybe we, couple of us to get together to really kind of drill down on this, and put our heads together, see how we might be able to deal with this issue. Again, it was less an issue, I think, of restricting, more an issue of us better defining what it meant and what would be required in the event that there was use of facility. There was a discussion, as I recall, whether for-profit entities should be able to utilize public spaces, and if they did, what is their threshold or standard that they would have to meet versus nonprofits and not-for-profits, things of that nature. So I just think we owe it to the community at large to be a little bit more transparent about the way in which our ordinance reads, so that when they do come, that we don't put our staff in an uncomfortable situation to sort of say, yeah, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure, or yes, and then we represent something and we can't follow through. I would rather not do that. So I don't know if anybody wants to take the lead on that, if we can get something in place so that we have that in place by the time we get to March. I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I'll be happy to take the lead on that. I think that's a discussion. I've seen some law words is similarly on this issue, so I want to have this.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So Mr. Spraz will take the lead on that. Yeah. And
The original ordinance, the draft, yes.
yeah. And then Dan, just let me know, and I think I'm just gonna say, hey, let's put it on for the late February meeting at this point, just as a reminder. And at that point, maybe we'll get the dates here. That would be the 27th of February. All right, great. I don't have any resolutions that are ready and that we're going to have on for the next agenda. The ordinances that we're seeking for adoption, again, this is going to be February 7th. It's an off night. It's a special meeting. It's Tuesday. So if we have issues with attendance, it's going to be one. These ordinances are going to be the only topic on the meeting. February 7th. I think it's been that February 7th. Right. That would be, yeah, and then we expect the sewer ordinance will be introduced at the regular meeting on February 13th, just so everybody's clear. Again, this meeting on the 7th is to meet some internal deadlines with regard to the ordinances.
These are earlier.
I don't have an objection to an earlier, you mean earlier in the night? I don't have a specific objection to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just, also, we don't have to do this here, but I'm open to doing it earlier if everyone's scheduled. So if we could re-advertise, that's what I know.
Here.
I said it, but I don't know if it went last week or was when, so I'll confirm that's it. Want me to send an email around?
Yeah, yes, please. Thank you. Okay. I don't have anything else for this evening unless anyone has anything they'd like.
One question, Mr. Mayor, the email received from Mr. Davenport in regards to space in West Chestnut. Is there any timeline right now of any resolution regards this on the long-term plans? I don't want to speak my fault.
No, I mean, at this point, all the signaling from the new owners of Blue Monkey is that they plan to change the aesthetics of the outside. B, we have some preliminary plans from our planner about things that we can do in that area. But it's going to cost money, and we haven't identified financially at this point how to pay for those improvements and or changes. And the third thing I think is, at some point, I think we need to understand the long-term interests of the Blue Monkey itself. I did see the email from Mr. Davenport. I didn't see that it was critical to every single person.
Yeah, I can see that.
I did see Mrs. Browse responded, you responded.
Yeah, I smart, he's a neighbor, I'll talk to him, I just want to make sure I was getting it right.
Right, so I think what we need to nail down also is the long-term interest
Yeah,
of
that's-
Blue Monkey. It's a new owner, the prior owner had an interest in physically extending the building into the center of the street in a substantial project. And I don't believe that that's the plan for the new owners. But I do believe that they want to utilize that space more often. Even if they do, you know, whether we vacate the street, whatever the decision is made, I think is ultimately dependent upon what we decide to do from a planning perspective, what infrastructure improvements we would make there, whether it's a small roundabout or a cul-de-sac or however we're going to do that, making sure the traffic changes work for us so that they're not negatively impacting the senior housing right there or any other businesses, residences in that area. You know, we're coming up on for the old Rite Aid space, the adult use cannabis facility is probably going to be open in the summer. And there's going to be between the Blue Monkey and that facility being open, there are going to be a lot of vehicles parked there coming in and going out. And the issue I think that we have is the cut-through issue, which I think is abated to some extent, but still exists. And that will become even more dangerous as more activity is there. So I think there's a lot of different things that are in balls in the air at the moment.
Okay.
I need to understand, I think we all need to understand what exactly the Blue Monkey wants to do. Right now, they are permitted to do outdoor dining for 2024. All right, that there was an extension. There was an extension of, yeah, from 2024, right? November of 24. So that was extended by the state.
Great.
That is not, and we have traditionally aligned ourselves with that.
Yeah.
You know, the answer, you guys already answered the other, I mean, we went to every single business that was.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
All that stuff, you know, but ultimately, yes, understand.
This is our aspiration.
And even, I will hate to say this. Everything looks terrible in the winter, unfortunately. You know, look at your lawns, look at everything, and I hate to say that. It's tough, I think, for the solution, the tent solution there, to be taking that up and taking it down and putting it back up, they have to remove the top of the tent. Or otherwise it'll be destroyed like the 1 year, you know, we'll have it up, right? I don't know how you make that look better through the winter months. So assume the circumstance where we do enter into a long-term agreement where Blue Monkey is leasing that space and or they own that space because we've forfeited the right to the roadway or what have you. I don't know how we make it look nicer than it will in, you know, late January. It's just gonna look the way it's gonna look. But that being said, I understand.
Okay.
You should remind, it's another example of how this
Trying
trying
to small businesses.
Yeah. I mean,
I you know, and I'll remind, I will say one other thing too, in the discussions I've had with the developer for the bank building. The space next to the bank, the gap tooth there, in their minds is critical to success because that is outdoor space and outdoor dining that they can have. And so outdoor dining to restaurants in a post-COVID world, I think, is really, really important. And understanding completely that Blue Monkey has a ton of seats and they have a ton of capacity. I think it helped them clearly through COVID. And I think it's something that the new owners are really interested in doubling down on. But there are some improvements that need to be made to the aesthetics.
Yeah.
They're aware of that. And I've had some very preliminary discussions with them. I just think it's probably time for me to have another discussion with them and see where they are and talk about what they're going to do. Thank you. Yep. Council, anything else? All right, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. First, Mr. Kerner, second, Mr. Sprague, all in favor? Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Right.